Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People come in the room and they think it's a two-way system on stands, which that's how it looks if you look at it briefly. It's not. It's a six-way full-range speaker, as you can hear. So they go really low. They go down to 20 hertz. 6 ways. That means on the picture you can see that quite nicely. There's 2 side-firing drivers. There's rear-firing drivers, and there's a tweeter and the mid-range in front. And each of those drivers has its own amp, and each of the amps has its own DAC. So you're looking at 12 amps and 12 DACs, and 2 A-to-Ds as well, should you want to run analog in them. We're doing this not right now. We're doing a Roon laptop with Roon on, and we're running USB straight into the key control, which is this nice little preamp unit with additional inputs and volume control, muting and programming and presets and all that. So this, together with these 2 speakers, make a full-blown stereo. You don't need much more than that. You can put them on stands. You can even put them on a sideboard. I once did that. That works. I'm going to tell you why that works. It has acoustical reasons, and you can hang them on the wall with wall brackets if you want. So that's all easy. So 6-way full range. That's something, right? So this is a Dsp Controlled Speaker. So the Dsp does a couple of things in here. That's a digital signal processor, as you know. Does a couple of things besides being a 6-way crossover, which we need for those 6 drivers and 6 amps. It's also linearizes the speaker to plus minus 0.5 dB. So not possible in passive speaker design as well. You won't find it anywhere. For any money, that's not possible. So that says something. On the musical side of things, which we are very much looking after, is we're music lovers, and we wanted to have a speaker that doesn't play specific music extraordinarily well and others not. You can do that, but I think it's cooler to have something that plays everything nicely for the whole family and for a party or for whatever, a Schubert quartet in the morning. I don't care, basically, because the speaker doesn't make many mistakes. So, and frequency response is not one of the mistakes that it makes. It's very flat. So the next thing we solved is the phase coherence issue. So in the passive speaker, the crossover that's in there is introducing a lot of phase problems. So what you usually do is you go in one of these rooms and you sit in this gentleman's seat in the middle, because you've learned that's probably the seat that only works. And here that's not the case, as you probably noticed. So you can wander around and there's no signature sound change. Doesn't happen. So the phase, it's called a minimal phase concept. Only to be done in DSP. You forget about passive speakers. Can't do that. No way. So that's a biggie, I think, because I like to stand up and I walk around and get myself a whiskey and then sit down, and I don't want to sacrifice what I'm doing. I'm on my desk, I'm on the sofa, whatever. I want to have it great all the time. With the K3s, you can do that. Now, the third thing that we've also looked into is the timing. And most of the time when you go into a room like this, and you sit down for 2 minutes and you walk away, and I'd ask you, what's the problem with the room? What is it that you don't like? You'd probably go something like, I don't know, it's something weird, doesn't attach to me. And I can tell you most of the time that's going to be the timing problem of the speaker, because the ear is extremely time sensitive. As we have these 2 for directional listening, and they're only a little bit apart, so the traveling time difference between left and right is minimal, and we can distinguish that very well. So as soon as a speaker makes mistakes in that domain, you'll instantly know. You can't tell. It's not going to. The answer is not going to be, okay, I can hear that 3,500 hertz come 7 microseconds too late. Your brain can't do that. It's not an audio precision, but your brain's going to say it's not the real thing. There's something between the source and my ear that messes it up. So now when we have this DSP, and on the way to the DSP, we don't make many mistakes, which we also don't do because we're running, digital all the time, basically. So what comes out of this server, I'm even streaming Tidal here onto this. I don't have no problem with that. It sounds great. It's just 44.1 files. So CD quality. They hit the DSP, and the DSP does the nice things that I just talked about, and it does also take care that the 6-way crossover gets the 6 digital streams at exactly the same microsecond, and then the DACs get that signal also in the same microseconds, and the amps also. And then there's a little cable from the amp to the driver, to each of the drivers, and that's the only analog part of the signal that we still have, we must have. And at the end of the day, what you're getting is a very, very tight sound because it's time correct. You feel it. The rhythm is all intact. There's no whooshiness about it, no strange things going on. So that would be, that alone, solving those 3 fundamental problems in speaker design would have made a really good speaker by itself already, but we didn't stop here because the biggest problem that every one of you or every hi-fi listener has is, of course, the room. So the interaction of the passive speaker with the room, or also a non-DSP controlled speaker, any other speaker except for these, will interact with the room largely. Yeah? So reason for that is that all the frequencies below 700 hertz, and I'm talking about 200 hertz right now, so 700 hertz down, 440 hertz on the piano, you know where that is, so everything that counts is in that region. And physics, you can't overcome physics. 700 hertz downwards goes omnidirectional, increasingly omnidirectional around the speaker. So meaning a 50 hertz signal is going to blow 90 dB to the back and to the front and to the side. And what's going to happen? You get a lot of bass. You get 3 times the bass. 1 direct sound, 1 from the side wall, 1 from the back wall. And you're going to have a bass boost, of course. But the timing goes astray because there's traveling differences, right? So when you put a big full range speaker in here, which this is a full range speaker, you never get that bass that we get because they are all talking to the wall all the time. Yeah, so what you have is a lot of boominess, a lot of build up, which we don't. How we do that is with those 6 drivers, with the 2 rear firing ones and the side firing ones. They're 180 degrees out of phase, so everything goes to the front only. So if you want to stand behind here, you can do that freely, and you'll see, and if I play Marcus Miller at 90 dB, you're not going to hear much bass. Because that again then says that the speakers do not talk to those walls. The walls are invisible for the speakers. So, and why do we do that? We do that because the best position for a speaker in a room is what? Who knows that? Where is the optimal position for a speaker in a room?
Isosceles triangle.
No, yeah, not to listening position, but acoustically. I mean,
away from the walls, away from the back walls and side walls.
Second best answer. That's a B. Anyone know? You know, the funny thing is, I'm asking that all the time on all the trade shows all over the world, and no one knows.
Is it pointing down from the ceiling?
Nope. You know why? I'm really not making fun of you. It's just because we are so used to having speakers in cabinets standing in our rooms that we don't think of anything else anymore. And the speaker should be in the wall. It's called soffit mounted. In studios, you have them all over the place, and there's a reason why they have it there. because it's in the wall. And if the speaker is in the wall, you have an infinite baffle. The baffle gets infinite, and there's no behind and no side reflecting surfaces. That's the reason. So now, that didn't go down well on hi-fi industry, right? Because they're gonna go, what? In the wall? I'm not gonna do that. No, my wife and I, and it costs $50,000 to do that, ain't happening. So the industry went down this way, putting things in shippable boxes and putting them in your room. So this is already a compromise. Everything out there in the hotel is a compromise by itself acoustically. You need to know that. No one talks about that because they don't want to talk about that. It's disruptive. So now if you think this is what we want but we can't get because it's not sellable, then let's do that anyway. So that's what we've done. So this speaker is 40 centimeters high and 20 wide. Looks like a two-way system. Acoustically, it's 2 meters by 2 meters, and I'm 2 meters tall. Yeah, this is what you get. 2 baffles of that size. That's what you hear. And on that, every time I say that, it's jaw droppers, and people need to start thinking, because this is really disruptive. This is not what you're used to. You're used to having that speaker can do 100 hertz, that can do 80, that'll do 50, and then I go to the big bangers, and that's gonna do 30. And it's gonna cost us 70 grand. Because that's that technology. And in that technology, that's all true. But in DSP technology, that's forgettable, basically. So it's like Tesla. If you have a Tesla, you don't talk about oil consumption anymore, right? It's the same thing. Basically, it's the same thing. So now we've done exactly that. So we're using the rear firing woofers and the side firing woofers to build a cardioid pattern, it's called. Look it up on Wikipedia. It's interesting to read. Every microphone that you talk into on the stage or sing into is a cardioid microphone because it records from the front and not from the back for a reason. Same here. We're talking to the room and not to there. There's no one there listening. So let's just leave that away. So that's what we're doing. This is basically, I'm trying to paint what we're doing. It's like going round here, out like that. So that wall and that doesn't exist for the speaker. So what does that mean for you in practice? That means you can put them anywhere in a room up to 2 inches from a corner. We're not even doing that here because it's not necessary. But if it would be necessary, I would do that. I'd put them right here in the corner, away. And still, no reflections. No boominess. It's gonna sound exactly the same that you hear here. And that's by one more comment on the predictability of things. If you buy a speaker at your dealer, he brings it along, or you listen to on the trade show, then you go to the dealer, you listen again, then you listen at home, right? There's 3 listening sessions all the time. And then at the end of the day, you bring them in your room and they sound different. They sound different on the trade show, different at the dealer, and different at your place, right? For a reason, because the room is interacting, so the room takes part in the sound. Here, that doesn't happen. So the predictability is extremely high. If you just listen to this, I'm going to play you some stuff right now, and if you take these back into put them in the trunk of your car, you drive them home, and you put them in your porch, it's going to sound exactly that way, or wherever you want to put them. That's very, very cool, because the predictability is high. That's what you want. You don't want to mess around and try out things for all your lifetime. We've been doing this for too long, I think. Trying out and then exchanging things and then finding out, well, it's different, but is it better? I don't know. So basically, the K3s solve a huge problem that cannot be solved in analog or in passive speaker design without DSP. And we're the only ones right now that do that. And that we're pretty successful with that because everyone has that problem. It's in a room, and the room is, the wives, if you go like, oh, we need some acoustic treatment, let's put some bass traps in, and wife goes, what? Divorce? Yeah, that's yes. It's clear. We know that we know what the reality is out there. You don't have a studio. You don't want to do all these things for $50,000 and then put the speaker in somewhere halfway in the room. Come on, that's not living. So we wanted to make something small, powerful for the whole family. I have to also stress that, because the usability of the system is really great, because you have those mono blocks maybe, or whatever you have, and when you want to listen to music, you go like, oh, am I going to make the effort right now? It's 15 minutes until dinner. Oh, maybe not. Yeah. So you don't even switch them on because it's too much of a mess. Here, I just press play. They come on automatically. They play. And if I don't feed them with audio for 15 minutes, they turn down, they turn off. So it's easy. There's no switches on these. So really a very convenient system. And so you see these colored bars here. Yeah, you see them in the display? So it might be a little bit far away. So there's red and blue and all that. That's the presets. So if your daughter wants to watch TV and the TV is hooked up to the K3s with Toslink or something, you just tell them, well, you have to use the blue preset. And the blue preset is going to talk to the Toslink input. It's going to correct for the latency of the lip sync of the TV. It's going to do all that. And then you come home and go like, oh, I want a USB now. It's on the red preset. You don't even have to think anything. It's just like now music. So this is basically a mixture of a lifestyle-ish kind of product, very much lifestyle, but ultra high-end in sound. There's lifestyle systems, don't want to have any names in here, we know who they are. They're great in the usability side of things, sound-wise, I don't know. Yeah? So then there's these huge audiophile systems no one can even touch, or is allowed to touch, and exactly in the middle of those two are we. That's what the concept is.
Do you feel Geld? How much?
Wie viel Geld?
Yeah.
So it's 17,000 US for the system without the stands. Stands are optional. 2,000?
2,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Find out.
Because as I said, you can have wall mounts for $500, or you put them on a sideboard like this, it'll work. Because the acoustics in the back doesn't matter, so you can really put them somewhere. And I have customers that have them in all the rooms. It's like making multi-room with keys. That's really nice. Have a room server, and then they just go like, play here, play there. So, music, okay? Thanks for listening. It's a bit lengthy, I know, but I can't just shorten it. There's too much information. TMI.
I noticed you picked the Lou Reed track.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was an incredible track in terms of sort of dynamic range, that stand-up bass, the girls' vocals where it sort of comes at
the reverb goes away.
Yeah.
You can have that now.
Yeah, yeah.